The McDougall diet is based on starch with the addition of fruits and vegetables. The McDougall program avoids all animal products and all free oils. That's the program. Starch-based diet. What are starches? Starches are rice, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, breads and pastas. There are thousands of different starches out there. Some we use today, many we used in the past. As a matter of fact, all large successful populations of people have obtained the bulk of their calories from starch. Throughout all of verifiable human history, there's only been a few people who've lived on the extremes of the environment that have followed otherwise, like the Inuit Eskimo, because of their environment, their frigid environment. You know, they've got to eat mammals and fish. That's all that's available. Or there are a few tribes in Africa and in South America that have decided what they're going to do is they're going to go on a diet that's heavy in meat and milk. But you know, we're talking about a few thousand people. That's it. Otherwise, the 100 billion people who've walked on this planet have lived on various starches with the addition of fruits and vegetables. It's only been in the last 50 to 150 years that we've seen a change in mass from just a very few people eating rich foods to a planet now today in 2023 where half the world's population eats like Americans, like kings and queens. You know, they eat other than a starch-based diet. They eat a meal plan designed around animal foods. What's for dinner? Turkey. What's for dinner? Steaks. What's for dinner? You know, cheese souffle, whatever. That's the way we think of things, whereas what we should do is having people say, what's for dinner? Beans. That's what they said in Central America and in Mexico for, you know, thousands of years. These are the people that are known as the people of the corn, the Aztecs and the Mayans. They lived on corn. You know, look at other populations like the Incas in South America who lived in the Andes. You know, they have somewhere between 400 and 600 different species of potatoes. They live on potatoes. What's for dinner? Potatoes. How about in the breadbasket of the world? What do you think is the answer to the call for dinner in the breadbasket of the world? I would guess pastas and breads, wouldn't you? And how about in Asia? When the family asks, okay, Mom, what's for dinner? Or Dad, what's for dinner? What do they answer? A starch. You know, up until 1980, this is well documented, up until 1980, 90% of the diet of populations in Asia, particularly the Chinese, have been studied thoroughly. 90% of their food came from rice. That's the human diet, a starch-based diet with fruits and vegetables. Where people get fooled is they get fooled because the human being is a survivor. You know, we could put up with 2 packs of cigarettes a day, a third of a bottle of whiskey every day, and live on a diet of hot dogs wrapped in bacon and cheese. It's amazing what this body is, and we get fooled. Didn't kill me today. Maybe I'll have another cigarette tomorrow. Didn't kill me last week. I'll have another drink today. You know, it hasn't killed me since my last birthday. Well, maybe I'll have another cheeseburger, you know, dripped in bacon juice. You think you get fooled. If these particular habits killed you right away, you'd never do it, right? One puff of a cigarette, you ended up on a respirator. No, I don't smoke. A drink and you end up falling down and killing yourself. That's the last drink you'd have. But it takes decades to kill you from the wrong food, from food poisoning, which is what I call it food poisoning, which has been one of the really important changes in the way I communicate this message. I'll tell you, there have been a couple of basic changes. One is I've tried to define it so everybody can understand it. And so I've talked about in terms of food poisoning. The 2 categories of food poison are animal products. In other words, anything from an animal, a secretion, a part of their body, etc. Anything from an animal is a food poison. And the other thing is free oils are food poisons. And then you say to yourself, well, what's left to eat? I mean, that's all I eat. There's nothing else to eat. What's left to eat is starch, just like we talked about. Starch with the addition of fruits and vegetables. So I've tried to make it simple, again, so people can understand and they can make definite changes. You got to sit around, well, let's see, should I skim the milk, or should I take the skin off the chicken, or, you know, if you get into so many silly rules. Starch-based diet and avoid the oil, avoid the animals. That's basically what you need to do. So that was one of the paramount things that I came about understanding. The other thing that I came to a conclusion, that's from my professional life and also my personal life, is that these substances that end up hurting us have an attraction. Otherwise, why would we do it if it didn't have an attraction? And as a result of it having an attraction, people become highly habituated and often addicted to these behaviors. Some people talk about food as an addiction. I think it's a lot of habit that has been developed, but whatever you want to call it, I don't care. Certainly, alcohol and heroin and tobacco, they're definitely addictions. Well, what I've come to the conclusion is if you really, really want to change, it's fine, you can practice for a while, but you're really expecting to get off those diabetic medications, to get yourself out of heart surgery, give you your best chance of surviving breast cancer, your best chance of getting out of a wheelchair and not suffering from terrible arthritis. When you get to that point, then you must act like other people do in terms of changing their behavior. You're not an exception. In all my years of practice, the only way I've ever seen people quit smoking is to quit. I've never seen anybody quit by cutting down. Same thing with an alcoholic. You don't cure your problem by switching to beer and wine. You got to quit. Heroin, you got to quit. You know what? It's the same thing with the food for a good share of people. And that is that unless they do it 100%, it's too hard to deal with. You open that refrigerator and there's that piece of cheesecake sitting there looking at you. You got to be in a position to say no. Just say no. Just like Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan, she was First Lady. What did she tell the youth of America? She didn't tell them to, cut down on your cocaine or your heroin or your opioids. She didn't tell them that, did she? She said, just say no. So, I've made this a goal of people is that, if you're ready for the cure, the best you could possibly get, you need to do it 100%. And then I would say the third big effort and big change in my practice is trying to educate people. How do you get them to come to the information and to incorporate it in their lives? And, I started out writing books and magazine articles, and then went on to TV and radio. I had my own radio show for 15 out of 21 years all over the West Coast, state of California. So, all those things worked, radio, TV, books, and so on. But education is key. And that's why I've come of age. I could never do the things that I do today if it wasn't for technology like Zoom, and to be able to make recordings that are, really quite professional, and to talk to a group of 1,000 people like one time. I have come of age. Technology is finally giving me the opportunity to do what I do best, which is to communicate, to share the story. And if I spend, the rest of my years doing anything, if I stay productive, it'll be becoming a better communicator to more effectively get this life-saving message across to people. And I'm getting better at it. Who knows what's going to happen over the next decade or two.